I'm down by Navy Pier. Now, here, it says how many spaces are available. Now, they say 1,014. Why doesn't this show up on the Google GPS? When you're coming down and you plot via Google GPS, it tells you how many parking spots are available, and then it teams up with Spot Hero to reserve your spot at Navy Pier. So you can reserve it in advance. 1,014 spots available, and then next to it, reserve in advance. Spot Hero. So, again, but they should be making people aware on Google GPS. So you can see this, and then they should have it trending for all parking garages, just like a business. They should tell you peak and valley. So when it's full or most crowded, the garage, and when the garage is least crowded. And so it tells you the different rates and everything, but it tells you occupancy. And then you got Spot Hero. So for all the parking lots and parking garages, they should tell you availability. So if you're going to any destination in the city of Chicago and you're driving, then it tells you where you can park and what availability. So Google says you put it in, and I'm going to the John Hancock building. And I push the icon for car, right? Because I have the car icon, not the walking, not the train, not the bicycle icon. And so it gives me parking options. Park at the John Hancock building. And then it tells me the rate and how many available and what floor. And then it goes to Spot Hero, right? They can team up with a few of them. I'm just giving you Spot Hero was started in Chicago, and the guy's from Chicago. So I used to use Spot Hero. So anyways, they have that. But now you have Spot Hero for parking bicycles. All bicycles should be legally parked. Do you know in Arizona, you have to legally park your bicycle? They have bike racks, and you have to legally park your bicycle. And if you don't legally park your bicycle, you can get a ticket. Yes, you can't just put your bicycle wherever you want. You got to legally park your bicycle. At least in Tucson, the university, if you park your bicycle not in a legal spot, you get a ticket from the university police. So that means Spot Hero can reserve spots for bicycles, for scooters, for boats. Oh yeah, all those slips where they have boats. Say you're coming down from Lake Forest and you want to go to the Chicago Bears game. You need a spot in the harbor. So now you need Spot Hero, getting a reserved spot at the harbor. See, this allows increased functionality, right? And here, they say somebody was hit and killed on their bicycle. This is what the white means, and they put up the bicycle to in memory of, but they don't put their name or anything on it. But all you see is that somebody was hit and killed on a bicycle here. So, have you ever been to Laughlin, Nevada? Well, Laughlin, Nevada has a T intersection and this entrance and exit, and they have all the crosses, and there's a ton of them going in and out, and you think it would wake people up because they put the crosses there to remind people it's very dangerous and not to get drunk and drive. And so they have all these crosses of all these people that have died. And for each person, they put up a new cross. Now, they don't put their name on it, but it's a white cross, and they put it up showing that that person, somebody has died. And there's tons of them. People that died from basically drunken driving coming out of the city of Laughlin, Nevada. So I think it's going towards Bullhead City. But again, here's a parking garage. And Spot Hero, parking garages can have parking for scooters. They can have parking for bicycles. Oh yeah, on the first floor, you can put up a bunch of bike racks in the parking garage and have parking for bicycles, have parking for scooters, have parking for motorcycles, have parking for the skateboard thing. They call it a scooter, but I'm talking about the one you ride on the street. But here, parking garages, they can have all of these, not on the street, but available in different parking garages around Chicago. So these lime little, what do they call them? Scooters, I guess. They're a different form of scooter. But again, they can have them available at parking garages all over Chicago. So they're monitored by the parking garage, and they check them in and check them out at the parking garage. So the Diddy bikes can take their bikes off the street. Truly, instead of paying the city and congesting the street, like here, right? Taking all this street and making it more congested, they can take it right over here and have it right here inside the Grand Ohio private parking. Again, they can take it there, right? So you can take these things off the street and allow for bicycles to go and park in the parking garages, and the parking garages can get bicycle traffic, they can get the Diddy bikes, they can get the little scooters, they can get the other street scooters, they can get the motorcycles, they can get the three-wheel motorcycles, whether it's two wheels in front, one in back, or one in front, two in back, whatever. And then they get all the cars, and then they get the SUVs, and then they get the vans. So parking garages can get a lot more business and keep the streets uncluttered. Truly, uncluttered. So here's another one just sitting here. Another one just sitting here, right here. There's a nice little mural behind it. So, but let's see whose name it is. The artist. Let's see. Something. Can't really read it. Studio. So, anyways, Brandon in HuntleyStudios.com. So, anyways, they can get it off. Now, look at all the dumpsters down here. Now, these are open dumpsters. You know, what do these dumpsters have to prevent rodents? Truly, externally, will go into paint that actually is basically, number one, antiviral, but anti-insect, anti-rodent. So there's new paint that they can use that keeps away rodents and that. So, again, but what are they doing? It's so freaking ugly. They did it with all the telecommunication towers. They make them more beautiful. Why aren't they making dumpsters more beautiful? Instead of that ugly blue, make them more visually appealing so they're not such an eyesore. So, again, why aren't they doing this? So, again, here's all the Diddy bikes. They can go into parking garages right here. Off the street, out of the rain, in safety. Don't worry about it getting hit by a car or anything. And it can be monitored by the garage. So they get video of them picking up the bike, dropping off the bike, sure. The parking garage has video, so when they return the bike, here you go, here's illegal. You would get fines for this in Tucson. Right here. You can't put your bike on the pole. So you can cut the lock and impound the bike. So again, that's illegal parking. So again, I don't understand. You know, we have this great leader called Brandon Johnson in the city of Chicago. And then before that, Lori Lightfoot bringing in the light. This black leadership that's incredible. That's bringing Chicago into the future. So all the black leadership I saw pretty much destroyed everything. That's why Thomas Sowell, the black economist, said black people should get out of the leadership business. Meaning running things like government and that. They'll do a good job. And he's a black economist saying that black people should really think about wanting to be in these certain roles of leadership. Just not their God-given gift. Should focus on other areas. But, hey, liberal blacks hated him. I like him. At least being able to assess everything they did, his own people, and tell the truth. And he said, I don't think it's our gift to be, mayor, to be county board, to be governors or presidents. That's really not our forte. Now, Obama was a mulatto. So, he's talking about two black parents. It's illegal to be in the street. So, again, we got the anti-cruel society. Where does that come in my life? Where the anti-cruel society? Because it's only been a cruel society to me. But Thomas was talking about a child coming from two black parents. And he was talking about how this leadership failed and how they should think about focusing in different directions because the numbers showed they didn't have their gift in running government. Now you say Africa on that. Well, we look at that. They need a lot of consulting then. And I said if they're going to get into it, then they have to create a dream team and find the expertise. So if you're Nigeria or other, that's where Christian missionaries came in. And yes, they happen to be white or Asian. But they bring a higher level of expertise in a certain area, right? But, you'll post this as a racist video. Okay, well, read his writings. And then call the black guy a racist. He's talking about black guy talking about black people. It's like they called Stevie Wonder a racist. When he's told Black Lives Matter, we need to clean up our house and we need to focus on addressing internal issues in the black community. And then I listened to the talk shows with the black radio show host calling Stevie Wonder a racist. Now, before they call him an Uncle Tom, right? Selling out for the white man. He's not selling out for the white man. Plus, I love Ray Charles before him. Both blind pianist. Incredible. Ray Charles, Stevie Wonder. Exceptional. But these guys, this blind guy who's accomplished incredible things being blind, at the top of his profession, one of the best in history at playing the piano, his dexterity and everything. And Ray Charles was the same before him, one of the best ever to play the piano. And now they could go into opera or the Chicago Symphony. Now there's lots of classical music, Beethoven, Bach, the piano concertos. that maybe they do have a gift, and maybe they would be good at classical music, playing Bach and Beethoven and others. And maybe they would be at the Chicago Symphony Orchestra, and maybe they could be in the pit at the Lyric Opera. Truly. So maybe that's a better area of focus, using their fast twitch fibers and so on. Maybe, truly. And I think they have longer hands. So, again, it's better to play the piano if you have, longer fingers. It's more movement of the arms. Less movement of the arms, more of the fingers if your fingers are longer. So, again, they have to figure this stuff out. But, when you go in one area and then you bring everybody down, black people suffer. They live in the city of Chicago, so if they get bad leadership, their community suffers. So, and their community has been suffering, right? So, I didn't see them pulling themselves out, but the Asian community pulled themselves out. So, again, maybe they should think about exactly what their pursuits are. I'm not saying you can't, but like I say in Africa and that, your countries and that, well then, you have to get proper consulting in that. You have to go to the proper schools and get the proper training in urban planning and other things. It's going to take a lot of hard work. You can do it, but you got to put in the effort then. So less naturally gifted, that means you have to have more tenacity. And you're going to put hard, long hours, and you're going to struggle. But you can get there. It's just going to be much harder for you. Because other people, have you ever played against anyone who's gifted? And they're just this savant, and they're just naturally so good, it's very hard to compete. But you still can compete. But the whole point is, there's all levels of sophistication. So there's a bunch of small towns in that, like Harvey's a small town, and there's less sophisticated systems where maybe that's your forte. And you can run these smaller communities because there's less moving parts. It's a lot less complicated. And that's your thing. But when you start getting to bigger structures, like running millions of people in the city of Chicago, or you're running tens of millions of people when you're the county board, or when you're governor, you're running 15 to 16 million people, you have to be fairly swift. And then if you're the president of the United States, which I don't understand most anything he does anymore, you're running 330 million people. You got to be a pretty sophisticated individual to be able to manage 330 million people. That means you got to be able to delegate to the governors and to the federal Congress, and the federal Congress has to work with the state Congress. Have you ever seen Dick Durbin meeting with their counterparts from the House of Representatives and the Senate? Or let's go this way. Dick Durbin meeting their counterparts in the state of Illinois in their area in the state Senate. The state Senate. So there are state senators that overlap in Dick Durbin's territory. Has Dick Durbin worked with those state senators? So the federal senators are supposed to work with the state senators. The federal House of Representatives are supposed to work with the state House of Representatives. They're supposed to work together as a team. But you don't see our federal representatives from Senate working with our state representatives from Senate. And we only have 2 federal, and I don't know how many we have in the state. senators in the state of Illinois, but say 50% is Dick Durbin's and 50% is the other senator. Is it Tammy Duckworth? I don't know. But again, they're supposed to break up the Senate, and that's their team, and they work through these individuals. So they talk to the Senate here, and it gives them information, and they help them. The state Senate helps fund or deliver information to the federal senator so they can work things for the constituents that federal senator is responsible to, because the state senator has those responsibilities. So the federal working with the state working with the federal. But they don't meet. But they should be talking on a regular basis. And I don't understand it. So we really have an incredibly dysfunctional system, and states and the federal government aren't working together like this incredible team. And then the state house has to figure out how to work with the county boards. So each of the state House of Representatives have certain counties, right? They could be just one county, or they could have multiple counties in the state of Illinois, and they have to work with those different county boards. So they hear from the county boards. Now, the county boards work with the different mayors or town leadership, and the town leadership feeds up to the county board. So Cook County has City of Chicago, it has Park Ridge, it has Des Plaines, and all that feed up into the county board. And then the county board feeds up into the state senate, into their House and Senate representation. But I'm going to leave this here.